Alright, in the last video, we have discussed about variables in Python. In this video, we will be discussing about the rules for Python variable names and the naming conventions which we can use to name our Python variables. Okay, so the Python variable names can have short names like x and y or a more descriptive name, something like these ones. Okay, so one thing which I will recommend you to do not use this sort of variable names inside of your code. Whenever you are writing your code, make sure that your variable names are descriptive. Okay? Then we have some of the rules here which I have pointed out. So a variable name must start with a letter or the underscore character. Okay? So for example, my variable equals to something. This is a totally valid name, or we can do underscore myvar as well. This is a totally valid name. Okay. A variable name cannot start with a number. So for example, if I just do something like 2 myvar equals to 5, something like that, as you can see inside of VS Code, we are getting some errors here, right? So as you can see, the variable names inside of Python cannot start with a number, but it can end, or the number can be anywhere in between the variable names, something like that, totally valid. Okay. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. So these are the things. Okay. So it can contain some of the numbers as well. It can contain something like underscore as well. This is a totally valid variable name as well. Okay. Variable names are case sensitive. This thing we have discussed briefly in the last video. Okay. So for example, if I am having a variable name, something like age equals to 10, and I am having something like age equals to 10, or let's do 20. As you can see, the variable names are case sensitive. That means this particular variable and this particular variable are totally two different variables. Okay. So the variable names are case sensitive. A variable name cannot be of any Python keywords. So basically Python has some of the reserved keyword. One of them is something like if. Okay. So this is a reserved Python keyword. That is why we cannot name our variable if, or something like a return, something like that. We cannot do that. And you might be thinking like, hey, do I have to remember all of the Python keywords? No, you don't have to remember. Whenever you will be writing some of the variable names, if you are not following the good practices, as you can see, VS Code will tell you that. Okay. And also, whenever you will be running your code, you will get an error. Okay, so don't worry about that right now. But to be on the safe side, you cannot name a variable any of the Python keywords. Okay, awesome. So this is basically the rules for the Python variable names. Now, if I just do one other thing, also one thing you have pointed out, like my var, something like my underscore variable is a totally valid one, right? So something like 10. So this is a totally valid variable name, but my dash variable, this is not a valid variable name. Or if I just add some sort of a hash symbol or @ symbol, something like that, these things are not allowed. Okay, so none of the special characters you can use inside of the variable names here. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Also, spaces are not allowed. For example, here we have two different words. So my variable, in case if you are having long variable names, what you can do, you can separate the different words by an underscore. And this naming convention is called the snake case. Okay. So I will show some of the other things as well. So we can have the camel case as well. So something like my variable name equals to something like 5 or 2, something like that. Okay. So this is the camel case. So it starts with small letter and each of the subsequent words are capitalized. Okay. Then we have the Pascal case as well. So that is my variable name equals to something like 5, something like that. So this is the Pascal case. So yeah, the V should be capitalized. So this variable name is totally valid as well. And whenever we are using some sort of a class, we usually use the Pascal case for that inside of Python. Okay, and this is the snake case which we have discussed here. So for most of the time, we will be using the snake case for the variable names. Okay. So this is basically the naming conventions for variables. So whenever we will be using some variable, we will be using the snake case. And whenever we will be writing some sort of a class, we will be using the Pascal case here. Okay. Awesome. So alright, so this is the quick video for the rules for the Python variable names and the naming conventions which we can use to name our Python variables.